Hello, I'm Sister Kathleen Turley, Chancellor of the Diocese of Albany. I am very happy and frankly a little overwhelmed to be invited to participate in this very important dialogue. I speak to you today not as a theologian, not as a researcher, not as a human resource expert, but as a practitioner, a field worker with 18 years of experience dealing with diocesan and parish planning for the Diocese of Albany. I'll concentrate on the key paradigm shifts in leadership in the Catholic Church in the United States today. Namely, first, the decline in traditional leadership cohorts or groups of priests, religious sisters, and brothers. And second, the sharp rise in lay ecclesial leaders, permanent deacons, and laity. These shifts are creating significant challenges for the Church, but opportunities as well, namely in the area of leadership where the formation, compensation, and placement of leaders will require new policies, practices, and structures to ensure a vital and viable Church for the foreseeable future. But first, I believe it is important to describe the context from which these issues arise. To do this, we must go back to 1965 when the Second Vatican Council was implemented. At that council, the hierarchical structure of the Church was affirmed, but at the same time, the role and responsibility of all the baptized was emphasized. Through the sacrament of baptism, all are called to ministry and responsibility for the mission of Jesus. As Catholics, therefore, our mission is about Jesus. Our vision is the Second Vatican Council, and we are called to live out our faith through baptism. In fact, in Called and Gifted for the New Millennium, the American bishops specifically stated that the primary role of the laity was to share their personal gifts and faith to transform the world. However, some are called to be collaborators with the pastors of the Church in building faith communities. Prior to the Vatican Council and within the context of organizational stewardship of the Church, the authority structure was only hierarchical. But now, as an outcome of Vatican II, we have a collegial structure as well, where lay leaders, clergy, and religious are called to work collaboratively to fulfill the mission of Jesus. This, therefore, demands that we achieve a healthy balance between the collegial and hierarchical structures in order to live the vision of the Gospels. It demands a new kind of leadership which focuses on power as working with, not as being in charge of and over others, but as empowering others to implement the vision and mission. This cannot be done by the leader alone, but by all the baptized working in partnership. To address the leadership challenges, the Albany Diocese has identified 3 areas: formation, compensation, and placement of leaders. I believe that these issues are relevant to the entire United States Church. In this decreasing and aging cohort of clergy, there is much diversity of leadership styles and ecclesiologies. Seminary training varies throughout the country. Most clergy are not trained in the management skills and good business practices that they need to address the complex needs of today's parishes. Priests are being appointed pastors without the necessary pastoral experience needed to serve a more educated laity who will challenge and demand accountability. As the numbers of priests has decreased, the numbers of lay ministers has increased dramatically. The partnership of laity and clergy working together requires a knowledge and understanding of the best tools and skills from the management sciences, as well as being grounded in theology and scripture to serve our people. To accomplish this, all ministers need to be educated and well-formed. Formation and training of ministers varies throughout the country. NAM, the National Association of Lay Ministers, has developed competencies and certification for lay ministers. Many dioceses have developed programs for ministry training. This past year, the Bishops' Committee on the Laity conducted forums throughout the Episcopal regions to discuss lay ecclesial ministry as it is lived out in the regions. Lay employees should receive just compensation for the work they do. Our goal is to provide just salaries and fringe benefits, including health and retirement for clergy, religious, and laity going forward. A second goal is to address the stewardship challenges resulting from these adjustments. We will need greater financial resources from the faithful at a time when giving levels are peaking in some dioceses around the country, especially when the largest givers are in the 50-plus age category and when attendance and donations have declined significantly among younger Catholics. In the area of placement, our goal is to provide qualified, formed, and properly assigned leadership for all parishes regardless of size, and to work tirelessly to ensure that a collaborative leadership style is a lived reality so that the mission, message, and ministry of Jesus may be enhanced for the good of all. Frequently, when there is a leadership change in a parish, I am asked by an employee, will I lose my position when the new pastor or parish life director arrives? Human resource policies need to be developed which protect the rights of these employees. In conclusion, the critical area for the Church today is leadership on all levels. In their book, The Collaborative Leader, Sofield and Kuhn describe the Christian leader as a person of integrity who is generative and compassionate and who communicates joy and hope. It is the role of the leader to create a view of the future and indicate a direction for getting there, but not to prescribe the detailed way to get there. The challenge for the leader today is to live the qualities modeled by Jesus. For example, authenticity, compassionate listening, forgiveness, empowerment, creator of vision, and to adapt skills from the management sector of identifying change, regulating distress, collaborating with people to gain their ownership. Peter Steinfels, in his book, A People Adrift, states that the Roman Catholic Church in the United States is on the verge of either an irreversible decline or a thoroughgoing transformation. I believe it is the latter. The transformation will be complete when we learn to develop new structures and processes which recognize that the gifts of all are needed for the fulfillment of the mission of Jesus and will provide for the balance of horizontal and vertical structures in the Church. All the baptized are called to use their gifts and charisms for the good of the whole Church. I close with a statement from my own bishop, Howard J. Hubbard, who says, "We are living in a new Pentecost, and as a priestly people, we have a golden opportunity to become forerunners of the Church of tomorrow, of being molders and builders of a new theological language and ecclesial structures which speak to our contemporary society and which will ensure a fresh hearing for the Christian message. It will take all the zeal, talent, maturity, vision, and love that we possess if we are to respond to this call as God desires and as the challenge itself so urgently demands."